So we have seen how to save an employee detail using JPA, right? So now let's let's test for other methods like find, meaning for retrieve. So before that, let's truncate our employees table. So there are no records in our employee table now. So now let's add few more employees. I'm just copying this and pasting it again. I'll change this to E1. I'll change this to E2. E1, E1, E1. I'm changing the objects to E2, and let's set this ID to 101 and this to 102, and let me change this to something like John and name him as team lead and save E1. Let me name this him as Ram and let me name him as manager. Let's change this to 3000. Let's change this to 2000, and now let's save E2. Now let's run our test create method. Let's run JUnit for this and see. Yeah, so we got a green, so all the employees got inserted. If you see the query, here goes, so it's having 3 inserts. So let's go and check in our table, so whether the records got inserted or not. Yes, so we have 3 records in our table. So now let's test for retrievals. I'll just write one more method. I'll say it as public void test retrieve. Oops, sorry. So I will return, I'll say list of employees, employee list equal to employee repository dot find all. And now let's do the for each. Employee list dot for each. I'll be using Java 8 here. I'll be using streams. So I'll say employee lambda expression. I'll say sysort. I'll just like print the name employee dot get ename. So what's missing here? Looks like one more parenthesis we should be adding. Yeah, so let's run test retrieve and see whether we're able to get the records or not. Oh, look like it did not run. Okay, we have missed adding test annotation, so let me add @test, and now let's run and see. Yeah, if you have seen, it changed to green, and we are able to see the names of the records which are present in our table. So by this we have also tested our retrieve. Now let's check findById, how it works. Let's say public void test findById. So here I will be passing the ID, and I'll see whether we're able to retrieve it or not. So I'll annotate with test. I'll take an instance for employee. I'll say employee equal to new employees. Okay, it's employees, not employee. Else instead we can directly write like employee repository dot findById. So I want to fetch the record with 102. So let me change this to optional. e dot get name. So let me print name of the employee whose ID is 102. Let's see if findById is working or not. Let me click on test findById and let me run as JUnit test. So let's see whether it's getting passed and whether it is retrieving the name of the employee ID which whose ID is 102. Okay, it got into green, and here you can see it retrieved our the name of the employee ID whose ID is 102. So here our if you check our table, in our table 102 belongs to Ram, so the same name got printed. So we have seen retrieve, findAll and findById. We have also seen the insertion which is on save. Now let's check for delete. Let me write one more method. I'll say public void test delete. Let me annotate it with @test, and let me create an employees object. Employees equal to employee repository dot deleteById. Let's check deleteById. Let me say 101. So since this is void, let's just say employees repository dot deleteById, and now let's run this test delete and see if the record gets deleted or not. I'll say run as JUnit test. Yeah, so now that got turned into green, and this is the query which we have which got executed, and it's asking and it also internally has attached where condition where ID equal to. So now let's go to our table and see if we have record number 101 or not. So if you see, we only have 10 and 102, so we have only 2 records in our table. So deleteById is also working. Let's now check. Let me give enter so that it will be visible. Yeah, so let's check deleteAll. So I'll say employee repository dot deleteAll, and let me annotate this with @test. I'm doing Control A, Control Shift F so that the whole code will be formatted and aligned properly. So now let's run our test deleteAll and see what happens if the whole table, if all the records are getting deleted or not. I'm running as JUnit test. Yeah, so it turned green, and this is the query which got executed. Now let's go to our table and see if we have any records or not. Looks like there are no records in the table, everything got deleted. So here in this video we have what we did is, like, we saw how to link JPA, how to link MySQL to our application, and then we have created our entity class. We saw what is an entity class, and then we have created a repository. We have created our employees entity class. We have annotated with @entity, @id, @column, and we have created employee repository and have extended the CRUD repository. And the same way we have created an employee test application, and we saw how to use .save method to insert, and we saw findAll method to retrieve all the records from the table, and also we saw findById which retrieved only the record with that particular ID. We saw deleteById as well as we saw deleteAll. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have learned a bit. So if you find it interesting, please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you all. We will meet in the further videos.